Yo, what up, what up, what up? It's your boy Roy, accompanied by the one, the only, the Dominican bad man, Sergio, aka the floor price guy. And we're Combat Sport Guys coming back to you with another UFC 311 breakdown, analysis, opinions, and update on how we did on our picks and our bets. 311 was a card with a lot of favorites and a lot of dogs. And I guess the theme of the card, I would say for myself, is lessons were learned. What did you think of the card overall, man?
It was it was a good card. Last week's card was better. It was more entertaining. This is I'm gonna grade this tonight. Um, but yeah, I mean it was good. A lot of decisions, a lot of O's being taken that nobody expected. Um, the reality is like I think the most impactful thing that happened was Talbot. Um, um, Nakamura and Nurmagomedov losing all their O's. Nobody could expected it. So the line, if you bet $100 on the win for the other guys, you would have made $20,000. How's that sound, champ? Isn't that insane?
What do you mean that if you put them all together?
So if you had bet for Marab, Barcelos, and for Gafurov, you would have made 20K if you bet
Oh
$100.
yeah, I don't think anybody hit that parlay though. To be
I
honest,
know, but think about it, how crazy
yeah.
that is.
Well, that's why the odds are so big. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, some big dogs. One, we gave you Aileen Perez at dog money. We gave you the Ritter at dog money. Up until the line closed in at minus 115 and minus 105. I think we got the Ritter at a plus 125. And we also suggested placing a bet on him at a plus 300 for sub. So make sure you follow us on X. We do put out our bets and our picks out there towards the end of the week. So what we do normally is we release our full breakdown video on Wednesday, and then on Thursday and Friday leading up to the fight, we release our bets. Our bets for myself, I hit, I believe, one of three. The card being switched up so much kind of affected a lot of my parlays and a lot of my bets. I had to reconstruct a few, but the big one that hit was I had Jiri Prochaska to win. I had the Ritter to win by submission. I had Aileen Perez to win, and that one smacked. And I also threw a Jailton Almeida in that for like a plus 440, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken. I got to double check that. But how did you do yourself, man?
It was good. I mean, Eileen Perez was the heavy. Um, yeah, she made me very good money. All my like 5 out of my parlays went down because of the switch, and I didn't get enough time to get the money back because of Bulldog. But overall, I did good. Um, another the Ritter was another one. Um, Jiri was a big one. Like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
as we said it was gonna go.
And if you're new to the channel, if you're watching us for the first time, make sure you hit the like, the subscribe, and follow us on X. The link is in the description below. We do the $100 challenge. So despite the card being what it was, I broke even. I'm back in the game, baby. I know last week I took an L, but we're back now. So I broke even from last week to this week, so I'm at plus 200. We're gonna keep it rolling. Looking at our picks here, you and I were very similar in our picks. I think we this is the first time us doing this that we called the card uh, the same way, right? So out of the 13 fights, we both went 9 of 13. Four of our picks did not land. This is something that we do for you guys to show that we're accountable and what we pick is, it's easy to make these picks and then make the bets and then show you what bets are successful and what picks weren't successful, kind of like not talk about them like these other cats do. But we want to have full transparency and show you how well we're doing and how we're improving. So 9 of 14 for this card. I think last card we had 11 of 14. So we're consistently doing well. And here are our picks here that were correct. And the ones that were wrong were some of the heavy favorites. So we'll get into dissecting it fight by fight, but we'll move on here to the first fight of the card. We had Team Khabib opening up the card. We had Tagir Ulanbekov defeating Clayton Carpenter via unanimous decision. And we had both picked Tagir to win this fight. And rightfully so. A lot of the stuff that we broke down in the fight was going to be his pressure. His wrestling was a lot better, and the striking was a lot better. What did you think of Tagir in this fight and Clayton Carpenter?
It was a good performance. I mean, Carpenter has never faced the opposition quite as talented as Ulanbekov, and the significant size was very different. And for this one, it's the starter father's plan. Um, it was good. It was good. I just think, how is this kid getting one fight and then fighting a top 11, 12 fighter?
Hmm.
So lessons were learned here. He's probably going to have to. I mean, there's nothing really he could do. I don't think he fights up. He's going to have to take somebody from the top 20. But Ulanbekov did good. He did great. The kicks were on point. We'll see where he goes from here. But yeah, he was a. We picked him on a couple of parlays at a minus. When we picked him, he was a minus 320. He ballooned up to minus 400 fight of the night.
Yeah, and if you haven't done so already, guys, and if you're not aware of it, on X we do our fight analysis and our immediate breakdown as soon as the fight ends. It's our recap. A lot of people like that. A lot of people seem to be what's it called, attracted to that, because every time there's a fight night or every time there's a pay-per-view, we get an immense amount of followers. I've been keeping track of the numbers. I think for the fight nights we get 50 to 60 followers, and then on the pay-per-views we get 100 to 120. So this is something we do for every fight. We do a round by round analysis immediately once the fight ends, and people seem to like that. So if you're unable to watch the fight or you want a quick refresher as to what happened throughout the fight, why the odds changed and why the outcome was the way it was, be sure to tap in, follow us on X, and engage with us. We are growing that account. I think yesterday we hit 1450 followers. Prior to that, when we recorded, we were at 1330. So we hit over 120 follows. So I'm very happy with that. We're going to keep growing that account. Make sure you tap in on X at Combat Sport, guys. But yeah, there we have it. Moving on here, we had Bernardo Sopaj defeating Ricky Torcios via unanimous decision. This is one of those fights that we had both picked Sopaj to win the fight. He was the favorite at a minus 290 going into the fight. And it was a lot of what we said, right? Sopaj's striking and his pressure and his power was going to be the determining factor in this, right? And although Ricky Torcios stayed in the fight, he doesn't have a lot of power behind his strikes. He does throw with volume, he does throw a lot of strikes, but his strikes don't do anything, right? He's kind of just throwing just to throw. But you know, Sopaj took the W, rightfully so. What did you think of his performance? I like how he looked coming back off of that brutal KO loss.
He looked good. I was a bit scared in the second because Turquoise has stepped it up, and it was similar to watching kind of like a Clay Guida, and it felt at times that Turquoise was gonna overpower
Turcios.
Yeah, and the conditioning, and even if you look at the live betting, we started at a 290
Yeah.
minus 275, but then in the third round, it was actually closer. Like it got to dip a bit
Hmm.
to minus 180, but
Hmm.
then the third round was a significant round. Tired up, knocked him down a couple times. He did very well and finished the round with a spinning rolling thunder. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. So there we have it. And what was the go back? Final odds were minus 1600. Wow. So he that
That's a
third
lot.
round he took it. So next up here we had the first upset of the night. A lot of people were high on Rinya Nakamura to beat Muin Gafarov. Gafarov got it done via unanimous decision. And one of the things that struck out to me the most is, why the hell did Nakamura not wrestle? Why did he not decide to bring in his wrestling prowess, his grappling prowess? Why did he try to strike with Gafarov? And I think that's what ultimately lost him the fight. I know a couple people had him in their parlays. I had him in one parlay that kind of threw it, but yeah, that was shocking to me. That was like one of the moments in the card, right? Like, why didn't he wrestle? Why didn't he, do what we expected him to do in our pre-fight analysis, right? We thought he was going to take him to the ground, control him, and maul him, but that wasn't the case. What did you think?
I think it was an excellent performance by Gafurov. It's like you're saying, Nakamura should have. Nakamura was acting like this was kickboxing, like he was about to fight Izzy in uh,
Hmm.
in Glory.
Hmm.
And it's like, go to where you're dominant. What are you doing? That minus 800 tag, oof, I was scared of it. And going into the first round, you could see it just dipped into 110. Um, and then you're like, okay, well, he's going to come back on the second round, and he's going to, they're obviously telling him takedown, but it wasn't. It was still the same.
Hmm.
And at the end, yeah, third round, he showcased why he would be a minus 800, but at the
Exactly.
last minute. And I gotta say, things that we avoided and something that I need to be better with. Um, Nakamura, up and coming prospect, but Gafurov, we gave him the blind eye. When I heard that Wood was his coach, I was like, oh, like this might be a concern. Um, yeah, something for us to kind of learn. Like, how do we get better at this? So yeah, Nakamura hopefully sticks to the game plan. Gafurov did amazingly well. Shout out to Wood. It was everything. It was striking. It was takedowns. It was beautiful.
And one of the things for people to learn, I think for us as well, and one thing that I've steered away from that I've learned early on is when you have a heavy favorite like a Nakamura at a minus 800 or a Tabot at a minus 1400 is don't place them in every parlay. That's one thing that I didn't do this card. I didn't put Talbot on every parlay. I was high on Talbot, and we'll talk to him when the time comes. We'll talk about him when the time comes, but I didn't throw him on every parlay because of that. Whenever you have odds so wide, it's always guaranteed that someone's gonna throw it, right? It's very interesting how that works, but try not to get into the habit of getting what's it called, mesmerized by the number of the odds and then throwing them on every parlay thinking it's a for sure hit, because it's not, because you're gonna lose every parlay. So try to mix and match. That's the best advice I can give people out there.
Yeah, the $5 the for $5 parlay is works, but nobody wants to do $5. People want to win big. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, it was very impressive by Gafurov. It's just not Nakamura. I mean, the energy he had in the third, he should have had it for the first. So
Yeah, the pressure was too much. We'll move on here to a women's bout. We had Aileen Perez defeating the favorite in Carol Hosa via unanimous decision. And this fight went a lot how we predicted it to go, right? We had said that Hosa was going to have the striking advantage. She has a really good calf kick, right? And we saw her incorporate that calf kick in the first round. Not the first round, as the fight progressed in the second and third round. It really bugged and it really seemed to disturb Aileen Perez when she was switching her stances from southpaw to orthodox, right? Like that leg kick was really bothering her. But Aileen Perez was able to get the takedowns. I don't have the stats as to how much she got, but I believe she took her down a total of 3 to 4 times. And one of the things that I have to criticize about Hosa is that she doesn't have that sense of urgency, right? Like she kind of just she's technical, she has nice striking, but she didn't have that, like how you like to say, that killer instinct, right? Like she would throw her punches, but she would kind of just stay. She wouldn't push forward. And that's something that I think lost her the fight. Had she had that pressure and had she pushed the pace, I think the outcome would have been a lot different. But Aileen Perez's game plan was perfect. I think she looks good. She's on a 5-fight win streak now, and she's in the top 10. And we'll see what happens with her, man.
yeah, and I mean, look, I think we talked about it. I called it. The reason I didn't like Rose in this fight, and I found it crazy that
Hmm.
she was a favorite, is because she doesn't go for the kill,
Hmm.
and then her past opponents don't really reflect what these up and coming girls are.
Hmm.
And Perez did a great job. Took her down the first and second. In the third, she couldn't take her down, and I was a little bit concerned because she started kind of buckling her with calf kicks,
Hmm.
but I mean, Perez did what we talked about. She was the mixed martial artist, and Rosa Holsa just didn't have the, like you said, killer instinct. She wasn't going
Yeah.
for the kill. So it reminded me of Irene Aldana. You have a fighter that's compromised, and you're not going for the kill. You're not. You don't really want it that bad. And I mean, that's the tail of the fight. It really is. And Hosa could have had very good success if she kept drilling those calf kicks.
Hmm.
But it's just the way her style is. She's a calm Thai fighter.
Yeah.
She's calm. Yeah.
Yeah, so Aileen Perez looks good. She's on a 5-fight win streak. We'll see what's next for her. She now breaks into the top 10, so she's gonna start getting those big fights, and we'll see what she's really made of when she fights those tougher opponents in that division. So we'll move on here to our next fight: Grant Dawson defeating Diego Ferreira via unanimous decision. We had both picked Dawson to win this fight. He was the favorite, and rightfully so, right? Dawson's grappling was the key to victory in this fight, right? And nothing to take away from Ferreira. He's 40 years old. He does have the advantage when it comes to striking, and we saw that a little bit, right? Like his striking is there, but as the fight progressed, Dawson just kind of was stepping ahead, right? With this grappling, he kind of tired him out. What did you think of this fight, man?
It's Ferrero looked 40. And by I say 40, it wasn't a lack of condition. It wasn't a lack of experience.
Hmm.
But it's just there were times where you could just tell that the young buck was just taking over. And I wish he would have had a little bit more urgency.
Mm-hmm.
Because man, like Dawson was just too much, and it was just energy compounded. And I really, where I got a little bit concerned was in the second round that he showed aggression, and Dawson was just able to neutralize him. And I
Mm-hmm.
think Dawson is officially in the top 15, or just opening the doors to the top 15. Um, but nonetheless, complete domination by Dawson. He called out Benil Dariush. Maybe they could fight in April. And in these lighter weight classes, age does matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that that'd be an interesting fight, him and Benil Dariush, because Dariush is good on the ground. He has exceptional striking, so I'd like to see him up against that challenge. But Dawson, his wrestling is good, his grappling is good, and I want to see him improve on his striking. I want to see where he goes from here. But we'll move on to our next fight. We had Bogdan Guskov defeating Billy Elikana via submission guillotine choke. Now, Elikana was stepping in on short notice due to Johnny Walker stepping out. Um, I liked how this fight went because Guskov said in the post-fight presser that he wanted to let Billy work, right? He knew that if he let him work, that he was going to tire him out, and he did so, right? The first round, you could arguably give it to Billy Elikana, correct? He took him down, he had him on the ground. He controlled him for a lot for the duration of the round. And in the second round, what happened? Guskov came out aggressive, as we stated. He likes to push the pace. He likes to have forward pressure, and he took the fight to the ground. He was defending well, and he pulled out the submission victory. What did you think of this fight, man?
I was scared the first round. He let him work, but
Yeah,
champ, he almost got the submission. Let's be honest. Like Billy was almost upsetting everybody. And then I'm looking at the odds and I'm like, why aren't the odds like changing? And then it changed for a brief second. And then as soon as Guskov got on top, the odds reverted back and even
yeah,
went worse.
yeah. Had he had like 5 seconds more, he would have got the submission in the first round. He would have got the tap.
Yeah,
The
but
bell.
then he reversed it, pounded him, and then the odds went even worse, and minus 650. And I'm like, but that was like a minute. I even like I tweeted about it, and some rando called me a P, and I'm like, he won the round. The thing is,
Exactly.
uh, Lincana won the round. Now his body behavior looked like shit, but the reality, the second round came in, he looked tired, man. He was just tired, and Guskov just ripped the body. Um, yeah, that was a moment that's a live bet for Guskov. Like I was trying to kind of time it, and I couldn't.
Yeah.
The parameters wouldn't allow me to.
Yeah, they don't let you within the round. You have to wait till the round
Yeah.
ends.
Well,
Yeah.
for me, they do, but
Mhm.
they're very careful, right? We'll talk about that in the co-main event because it happened as well. But
Okay.
yeah, shout out to Clear Domination. Um, I really hope, for God's sake, that Johnny Walker does not face Guskov. I don't think he wants to face this guy. These guys have too much punching power. Do you think it's the next match to make?
Uh, I mean, if he wants to give Johnny Walker that opportunity to fight him, but I think he's gonna try to fight someone tougher, someone up in the top 15, top 10.
Uh, I hope Johnny doesn't take it because I will
Yeah,
go
'cause
all
Johnny's
in.
we know Johnny's chin, right? He's been prone to knocked out, so
Bro, this guy hits hard. This
yeah,
guy was just like every time he hit him, I'm like, oh Lord, it was just too
yeah.
much.
All right, we'll move on here to our next fight. We had, you know, Zachary Reese losing to Azamat Bakoyev via KO TKO ground and pound. This is very unfortunate for Zachary Reese because he was the favorite prior to losing his opponent. He was set to fight Cedric Dumas, I believe, and Dumas pulled out. In that fight, he was the favorite, but once Azamat Bakoyev stepped in, he immediately became the dog. And I didn't change my pick. I should have, but I didn't change it because I thought Zachary Reese with a longer camp, he was going to have a game plan. He was going to look better. But Bakoyev, man, came out, took him to the ground, and just hit him with that vicious, vicious ground and pound. And Zachary Reese, even though he has, exceptional BJJ, he laid on his back and he was trying to work. He was trying to find something, but he couldn't find it. And man, he got put out on his back. And the ref stepped in, and I saw a post where someone said the ref, I think it was Rampage Jackson. Rampage said the ref assisted in that KO because the ref stepped in, and when he stepped in, he pushed his head back and he hit it on the mat. But that was pretty funny. But yeah, Azamat Bukoyev looked good, man. His UFC debut, he looked fucking good. What did you think of this fight?
I think this was the one that was a little bit of controversy online where he hit him in the back of the head.
Yeah,
Something.
so there was some strikes to the back of the head. I believe that like right there, there was like 2 to 3 prior to the ref stepping in. But he was knocked out prior to that. To be fair, he was knocked out. He was moving his head. He wasn't really defending, and then the punches that followed were the punches to the back of the head. And I think a couple people tweeted about that. I think Ariel even talked about it, right?
Yeah, and
Mhm.
I mean, like, with Reese, it was just the gamba. Let's be honest. The
Mhm.
gamba was big, the gamba, and as soon as he shot, I just didn't like how Reese pursued. Like, he tried to like attack him while like having a single leg, because it was a single leg, and I'm like, what, Reese, what are you doing? Like, get out of there! Like, you
Yeah,
don't. You're the bigger fighter. You have more range. Pick him apart. But as soon as he got him down, and I was like, oh, it was a
exactly.
more the more superior fighter won, and I mean, yeah, the odds weren't bad for Reese either. It's just bad execution. Like, I would have wished he would have tried to just don't attack him. Just try to get out of there.
Exactly. And
At
here's a fun fact: 2 out of the 3 fighters that shaved their head for this card lost. So, don't switch it up, man. Don't change your hairstyle because
that's right.
had he had the mullet, would he have had more power? Would he have came out more aggressive? Who knows?
Who
I'm just
knows?
joking.
Who
But
knows?
we'll move on here to one of the biggest upsets. I would say that a lot of people were banking on. This guy was in the featured prelim spot. He was the last fight prior to the pay-per-view. We had Peyton Talbot losing via unanimous decision to Rayoni Barcelos. Talbot was the favorite at the start of the fight at a minus 1100. The UFC was big on him. Everybody's big on him on X. Everybody's saying he's going to get the knockout. He was going to get the finish. We said he was going to get the finish. We said he was going to get the victory. And one of the things that we saw here was that Talbot was tested in his wrestling. Despite him being taken down, he didn't look like he was worried on the ground. He didn't look like he was uh, what's the term I'm looking for? Panicking. He looked good. He looked calm. He looked composed. And one of the things that I found interesting in this fight was there was a sequence. I don't know if it was in the third round or the second. I think it was the second round, if I'm not mistaken, where the ref intervened and he gave Talbot the opportunity. Do you want the fight to be standing or do you want it to go back to the ground? And Talbot, for some reason, I don't know if it's honor or whatever, he said, we'll pick it back up on the ground. And I think that was interesting. That's the one thing that stood out to me. But when the fight was on its feet, you could see Talbot's advantage there. He has exceptional striking, has good striking. He tagged Barcelos multiple times. But, Barcelos is a Brazilian wrestler. He's a world champion wrestler. And, you know, I would hope that when you're going up against a wrestler, you really, really focus on your takedown defense, right? And I don't think Talbot game plan incorporate a lot of the takedown defense because he was so easily taken down. But I hope he learns from this and I hope he gets better from this. I don't think this takes any like aura away. I don't think this is a fraud check. I think this is a good loss early in his career, and I want to see how he comes back from this. I want to see how he comes back from this because this is going to tell me a lot about Talbot when he fights next.
Yeah, I mean, upset of the night, I guess, right? And the one shocking thing is, like, I know Peyton Talbot had pull, but until if you look at the metrics of the most kind of viewed tweets we received, it was a Talbot tweet.
Hmm.
So people were very big on this. This was a big investment by the UFC. This would, I would say, Manny would be like, this is the next Sean O'Malley in a way, right? Just the way he
Hmm.
kind of conducts himself. But when this fight happened, I mean, this and Barcelos came in hot, and it's good to point out. I put a tweet out there, um, and Gary V had kind of like commented, which was pretty cool.
Yeah,
This was
we're getting
similar.
we're getting love from Gary V. Make sure you follow us on X.
That was pretty
Sorry,
cool.
I had to plug in the
No,
X.
but it's true, because like the comparison was what Matt Brown did to Wonderboy Thompson over a
Hmm.
decade ago was the same things Renai Barcelos did to Peyton Talbot. He humbled him, and You could clearly tell like the groundwork, the wrestling, it needs work. It doesn't matter. Marcellus wasn't even in the top 15. Like I wonder if he was top 25, top 30. Um, he came in hot, man. The one thing I kept saying to myself, is he gonna tire out? Because he was like an energizer bunny. He was just going and going and going and slamming and controlling. And there
Yeah.
was even a sequence of both of them threw a flying knee. And it was beautiful. But Talbot, man, I gotta say, didn't really read the room on the second round, like with the striking. Um, and also like there were a lot of times where he didn't have to engage into grappling, but
Uh-huh.
the corner work I didn't like as well. He went in and the corners and he's like, "What do I do?" He's like, "Well, try to strike him." And he's, "Yeah, but what exactly do I do?"
Mm-hmm.
So it was just the first time he's getting humbled, and
Yeah. And
yeah,
I think, yeah, and I think, like I said, this, like you mentioned, this is a good learning lesson. I think this is a good spot for him to kind of go back to the drawing board and then learn and kind of evolve from that. Like similar to like when Islam Makhachev lost to, you know, Adriano Martins, right? When he got KO'd, what did he do? He came back, he worked on those things, he fixed his striking, right? That's the one thing, he fixed his striking and his striking defense, and he hasn't been touched up since, or knocked down since, or knocked out since. So I hope he kind of goes back to the drawing boards, he reevaluates, and he takes his grappling defense a lot more serious. And I want to see how he looks in his next fight. That's the one thing I'm going to look for when he fights next, is how his grappling defense looks, his takedown defense, and how he works on the ground. Because he was able to get up a couple times in this fight. He was able to maneuver out of a couple submission attempts. So he's not bad on the ground. He just, getting to the ground is easy for his opponents, right? So we'll see
and
what
he,
happens.
yeah, and he looked good. Like he has Sean O'Malley striking. Like
I
when he
told you.
throws, yeah, he throws like Sean O'Malley, which is like insane. And yeah, man. I mean, he got humbled, and the questions for me is the camp he's in. I know it's a small camp. Like,
Mhm.
are you are you the big bag wolf there, or are you like are you the strongest fighter there, or are you fighting guys that are better than you? Because I'm not seeing that. I don't think he's I don't think he's fighting with guys better. So it might be an opportunity for him to be like, you know what, I want to stay with my camp, but maybe I do a little bit of transfer. Let me go to American Top Team. Let me
Yeah.
go, let me fly out to Florida with the boys. With
And I'm sure his phone is probably ringing like, "Yo, come out, train with us for a couple weeks. Come out for a training day."
I think he needs to. After this fight, it was just a very clear indication that you need top level coaching at this level because
Hmm.
you need better preparation. He will learn from this. I'm excited to see when he comes back. If I'm a betting man, I think they give him maybe 1 to 2 months suspension just because of all the significant strikes, and then he gets back on the horse. And
Suspension? You said suspension?
yeah, yeah, just a little bit of time because there was a lot of choking, a lot of punching to the head. Um, like it's like Marab. Marab literally got the doctor, went to the doctor. The doctor said, "Brother, you could fight in 6 days. You're good to go, brother."
Okay.
Yeah, so prior to these fights, like when the doctor examines you, a lot of times, depending on who goes on their fights, they give them a 3 month suspension, a 1 month suspension,
Hmm.
a 6 day suspension, but they could go back to the doctor and just prove they're okay.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I just hope he takes a little bit of time to reevaluate what he's planning on doing because, bro, that bantamweight division is
Yeah,
dangerous.
there's a lot of good up and comers up in that division, man. Next up, we're going into our main card here. We had Rene de Ritter defeating Kevin Holland via submission rear naked choke. Now, some of these guys are charging you $20, $40, $50 a month, are out here saying Kevin Holland's gonna piece him up. He's gonna knock him out. De Ritter's chin is so questionable. Gerald Mearshot was piecing him up. He's gonna just obliterate Rene de Ritter. Wah. What happened? If you watched our pre-fight analysis, we said Kevin Holland has struggled up against grapplers, decent grapplers, somewhat okay grapplers. The Ritter is an exceptional BJJ practitioner. I, myself, and Floor Price Guy both said his game plan is gonna. He knows what he's up against. He lost his title to. The only time he lost in his career, and it was when he lost his title, was two strikers. So I don't think he's gonna commit the same mistake 3 times. I felt, and Floor Price guy agreed, that he was going to take this fight to the ground. He knew what he was up against, and he was going to secure the submission. Now, Kevin Holland's an interesting cat because you kind of got to understand and see where his mind at. He says he wants to fight 4 to 5 times in this year, but is it because he's chasing legacy? Is he want to, he wants to get 50 fights on his UFC on his record, but is he chasing legacy? Is he chasing a title, or is he chasing money, right? Does he want that money, right? Does he want the money to fight? And obviously everybody does, but one of the things that you got to look at is this the weight class for Holland? What do you think? What do you think
Man,
of this fight? Before we get into that, what did you
a
think of this fight?
horrible matchup. Like it's going like what is Kevin? And I say this every time. Like he wants to fight 5 times, but
Hmm.
bro stipulated in a lot of different fights that he says, "I don't care about this fight." Well, you lost. He was beefing with Rampage Jackson. I got to see that interaction, and he was,
Hmm.
he was beefing with him, and it's like he's a dog. I get it. You're the alpha, whatever, like whatever you want to say, but
Hmm.
brother, pick a weight class and stay there. The thing is, Kevin is loved by the fans, and he pulls like people like him, people want him to win, but
Yeah.
doing himself a disservice. So what's happening is in this fight is uh, Kevin Holland is the one that calls the shots, not even in his coaches. I think he
Hmm.
basically controls his coaches. He needs to sit down and and go to welterweight. Brother, I don't want to see because this is the same thing. Marta, we've talked about it. Marta Vittori, Derek
Yep.
Brunson. Then he
Yep.
goes to welterweight, has great success. And
Yep.
it's just like, brother, don't tell me that Jocko Ray Souza on his way out, you knocked him out and you feel like you're a top five. You're not. So comes back with Roman, do, Roman, Roman D.
Hmm.
Similar. Roman puts him down, starts grappling, gets an injury, comes back against Rainer De Reader. We know what's up.
Yeah.
But then what's happening is a lot of people pick Kevin because they're like, well, Kevin's gonna burst them. But the key thing, two things to take on
Hmm.
from Ritter. First fight, he told them, "This is nothing I've ever experienced. I was overwhelmed." So that's it's not the ring rust, is the UFC jitters got to him. So
But also too, and I'm sorry to interrupt you. In his first fight, he went against somebody who is equally as good as him on the ground. So like we've seen it in the past where you have two people that are good on the ground. We saw it with Bo Nickel and Paul Craig, right? They both are good on the ground. They didn't want to get to that point. So what did they do? They striked for the duration of the fight, right? Similar to the Gerald Mershat and the Ritter fight. What did they do? They striked for a lot of that fight until it got to the ground and he got the submission victory. So I didn't think that fight was gonna be. I didn't think that the Kevin Holland fight was gonna be similar to the Gerald Meerschaert fight because he knew he was going up against a strong striker who is the better striker than him, but somebody who struggles up against grapplers. So like you, similar to you, I knew that he was gonna take the fight to the ground and look for that submission. Sorry, I just wanted to say that.
no, it's fine. And then so my first point is the Jared fight. He learned from
Hmm.
it. UFC jitters. And what did you and I and the fans picked up? His striking is horrible,
Hmm.
right? But we also understand that going into this fight, he is the bigger fighter. This guy,
Hmm.
when a guy fights at heavyweight and the other guy fights at welterweight,
Yeah.
there's very different levels to this.
Hmm.
Second thing, this guy understood that he failed he won the fight against Gerald, but failed with his striking. And what does he do, champ? He stays in the Netherlands. Well, he went to Boca Raton with Henry
Hmm.
Hoof and worked on his striking. And you got to see clip that he was getting better. And then, which is amazing, the fight starts, and what does the guy do? He goes immediately for Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland, fight IQ, doesn't circle away. My man is here. He wants to fight 5 times. He just wants to get paid. Now, my issue with getting paid, and this is why
Hmm.
I feel like I have to be vocal with this. Every time you lose like this, your star power goes a little bit down
Yeah.
because you're not that you stop being that guy. And it happened to BJ Penn. Look at BJ Penn. He was a killer. What happened when he started to lose? They threw him in the prelims, and this
Hmm.
is not good. So I don't know what he's gonna do. I think people love him like DC should have a conversation with him like, brother, if you're here to fight, that's fine. Let's see what happens. Maybe you win some, maybe you lose some. Eventually, you'll be cut from the UFC. But take it serious, man. Let's see what could happen if you take it serious because he was a top 15 at
He's very inconsistent. That's the thing.
he fought Jack Maddalena and it was a split decision.
Hmm.
Like, brother, why aren't you staying in that weight class? I don't know, man. Let's see what happens. But if Kevin Holland just wants to get it back, bro, that's really what it is.
That's yeah, that's the vibe that I got, and I think it was on the Rampage Jackson podcast that he also said that he didn't care about the fight. Like he
Yeah,
literally said he didn't care about the fight. So it's interesting. It for me, it was interesting to see how the line moved because when we first recorded, the Ritter was the underdog at a plus 125, whereas Holland was the favorite at a minus 110, I believe. And as the week progressed, it went even. And then at the start of the fight, you see it there. Holland was the underdog. So I wonder what changed. I don't know if it was his antics or if people really looked at the Ritter and made last minute bets or they were swayed. But I want to know what changed in the public sentiment, right, as to why the Ritter was the favorite. Because leading into the fight, a lot of people were big on Holland knocking him out for some reason, and I did not see that. I think Holland is very inconsistent. I like Holland, but he's very inconsistent. I think he needs to go to a different weight class. I think he's too small for middleweight.
different weight class. Leave your gym, like just try to
Hmm.
do what Talbot is about to do. Just get trained by somebody else as well. Like feel the difference. Let's come back. Let's come hungry because it like and we'll leave it at here, champ.
Hmm.
If we're gonna do fun fights, let's just do fun fights. Put them in fight nights. Put them at the beginner. But you and I know as betters or as enthusiasts,
Uh-huh.
we're not taking you serious. We're not spending money. Shout out to the people that did take them serious because I know what they saw, but that is not that guy.
Hmm.
This is not 2020 Kevin Holland. Let's just remind ourselves of this. This is not 2020 Kevin Holland.
Yeah, and one of the things that we talked about often is when making bets, you gotta make the bets for what's in front of you. You gotta look at the fight, and you gotta look at both fighters, and you gotta leave your bias and everything aside, right? Because when we first started, you and myself, we would make bets on who we liked more as an individual or whatever, right? And not really look at the fight
No.
itself. But you gotta look at the fight styles, make fights, fighting background make fights. So kind of look at that and make your decision. I think a lot of people bet on Holland based on the fact that they like him. So, well, it is what it is. We'll move
You
on.
want him to win, and champ. Technically, he he was supposed to stay on top.
Yeah.
And oh, he Ritter's not Hamza. Remember that? Let's move along.
Yeah, we'll move on here. We had Jalton Almeida defeating Sergey Spivak via KO TKO punches from back mount in the first round. We had both picked Almeida to win this fight. You know, one of the things we both said this was grappler versus grappler, but Almeida was the far better overall fighter. And what did he do? He tagged him, dropped him to the ground, got on top, and just hit him with that ground and pound. Not surprised at all. I think Almeida is good. I'm excited to see where he goes from here. He's 22-3. What do you think of this fight? What do you think of Almeida? What's next for him?
He fought adversity. I mean, look, it got scary for a bit, and the
Hmm.
reversals, the in and out, and then the pressure, and then the stoppage. I mean, it was good. Almeida is that guy. I mean, what is he at? He's top six, top five. Yeah, top six versus the top seven. Um, yeah, I mean, we got to evaluate what the heavyweight division.
Hmm.
I mean, look, if Kevin is sorry, if John is not going to fight Aspinall, maybe Aspinall has a little tangle with this guy. Like, there's so many things that we could attribute this to,
Didn't he
right?
call out Cyril Gahn, I believe? I think
That's
he called
another.
out Cyril Gahn after this fight. He called him out.
That's interesting. Why you would call Cyril Gahn and not
Hmm.
the Russian Alexander Volkov? Why
Hmm.
wouldn't you do that? Because you have the grappling advantage, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, let's be honest with each other. Yeah, shout out to Almeida. Um, I, I mean, Aspinall, if John doesn't take the fight, you could fight Gon, you could find Volkov. Um, the heavyweight division is not exciting again. It's not
Hmm.
exciting right now. It feels a little bit, dim. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Like,
And we'll see what happens. We'll see who they give him next. But I think that Gon fight would be good. And then, if like you said, if the fight with John doesn't happen, just after that Gon fight, put him up against Aspinall.
that's
We'll
it.
see what happens from there. Next up, we had Jiri Prohaska defeating Jamal Hill via KO ground and pound in round three. This fight was a good fight. It was pretty much a pick 'em. The odds were even at a minus 105 and then Hill at a minus 115. Uh, a lot of back and forth exchanges with the striking. I think in the first round, Jiri knocked him down. He secured the knockdown, and then Hill was able to recover and kind of land a lot of the counter strikes. But one of the key takeaways for me in this fight was, and I said in the pre-fight analysis, was I don't like how Jiri leaves his chin open and he fights. He has a weird stance, right? He's a very chaotic fighter, but his head movement looked really good in this fight. I think he was able to dodge a lot of Jamal Hill's counter punches, which if they had landed would have done real damage. But Jiri got it done. He knocked him down. He secured the fight. He looked good. He looked composed. His movement was a lot better. And Hill now. I wonder how Hill's gonna conduct himself on social media. I wonder what he's gonna say now. So it's gonna be interesting. But what did you think of this fight? What did you think of Jiri's performance? What did you think of Hill? What are some takeaways from you?
I don't want to hear from Hill. I don't care what he says. I don't. Bro's been knocked down already. Like, everything is an excuse. Like, Paul Craig was an excuse.
Yeah.
Paheja was an excuse, and this
Uh-huh.
is going to be an excuse as well. Like, humble yourself. Let's, conditioning. He looked flat in the second round. He was getting clipped a lot for a guy that has better, quote unquote, not better footwork, but better head work. It was good. I like the jabs he threw at times, but I feel that Jiri, the best thing that could have happened is the loss to Alex. I felt that he was able to incorporate, because Jiri has a very wild style, but he was able to incorporate that slip, cross, hook, and
Mhm.
that's how he got him, and it was beautiful. And I
Yeah.
know Jiri is the number three of the division. I said number two, but he is the number three. And I
Mhm.
say I said number two because he's somebody else that has held gold in that division. Um, yeah, let's see what happens in March in 313. But yeah, man, Jerry looks so good, and like when Jerry decides to go for the kill, man, this
He goes
guy's
for it. He's resilient. He's very durable. He's resilient, and he looked good. I was really impressed with his head movement and his defense. And Hill, he looked fatigued as the fight progressed, but he was coming down from 260. I think Hill needs, like you mentioned, with Tabot training partners. I think Hill needs to really take his training a lot more serious and maybe find a new camp, man. Maybe find some better training partners, right, and really improve because he's on a two-fight losing streak now. He got knocked out twice in a row, so we'll see what's next for Hill. I think you give him, honestly, I would like to see Hill versus Khalil Roundtree.
yeah, I think that's the fight.
That's the fight to make. Hill versus Khalil Roundtree, and then you wait for the outcome of 313, which got announced. Pereira versus Ankalev for the light heavyweight title, and then you give Jiri the winner of that fight.
Yeah, and I think if Alex wins that fight, and this is a discussion for a different day, he goes up to heavyweight and has a little fun with Aspinall and
Yeah, of
figures it
course.
out, gain some weight. But um, I, after what I saw, um, Hill didn't look superior or didn't look improved. I
Hmm.
think the best version of Jamal Hill, we saw it against Glover
Glover.
Teixeira,
Hmm.
which is Glover's retired. He was already on the way out. So
And
it was
Hill's
just
been injured a lot too. He's been injured a lot as well.
yeah. But like I said, MMA math doesn't work as well as we
Yeah.
think. Yeah, that's the other thing. He was injured. He's ballooned up to 265. Um, he's very flat. He was very flat footed as well. He was trying
Yeah,
to.
that's what I told you. His movement, I don't like his movement. He walks very flat footed. He doesn't bounce around, isn't moving in and out. He just kind of walks flat footed and moves forward. It's really, I don't like it.
Yeah, the only thing I could say that if this is the version of Hill that we're going to see against Roundtree, I hope it happens. I think Roundtree is going to knock him out.
Yeah, and I would hope so too. It'd be nice. It'd be nice for Roundtree. But I think that despite losing two fights to Pereira, I think that Jiri and Pereira third fight would be good. It would be profitable because they're both beloved. A lot of people seem to like Jiri. He's beloved by the fans. He's kind of a I don't know if, if I don't know if there's a language barrier, but I saw he had a post fight interview with Megan O'Leary, and he told her like, "Hey, I brought two guys from my village. They're crazy, and I'm gonna take them to my room and I'm gonna show them something." And everybody's like, "Yo, what are you talking about?" But I think there's a language barrier there. But yeah, Jiri's beloved by the fans. So despite him losing two fights to Pereira, I think the third fight would make sense. It'll be profitable and it'd be good for the fans, right? Because he could argue that the second fight it was done on short notice. He wasn't ready. He didn't have a full camp, and then this time he'd be fully prepared, right?
Yeah, and three knockdowns by Jerry. There's
Yeah,
a lot of
three.
knockdowns in that third round. But let's move on.
Yeah, and the crowd erupted. And if you saw on social media, Pereira was kind of trolling them both. He said, "Hey kids, stop fighting, or I'm gonna take off my belt." So he
But bro,
wasn't.
before we pass on, like
Yeah,
Jamal needs to cut this shit of like he starts looking at the fighter from the
yeah,
walkout. It's similar to what he did with Alex Pereira. Like
yeah. He took the
he,
arrow and he broke it. Remember?
bro, he wasn't doing that when he wasn't doing that. He was winning, and now he's doing that. And how mentally affected is this guy? And like I said, like he
I
reminds me
know.
of
I don't say it, but I know who you're talking about.
the generate no certain generation. I'm not gonna say
Yeah.
who the certain generation, Gen Z or whatever it is,
Mhm.
and it's just like always like take what is gonna be the excuse.
But I
So
think I think the UFC and I think Dana likes somebody like Hill because Dana has mentioned it in the past. Whether the fans cheer for you, it's good. Whether the fans boo you, it's good. I worry when the fans don't react to you at all. And Jamal Hill does have a lot of heat on him. A lot of people don't like Hill for the way he conducts himself on social media, the shit he says, the outlandish, delusional stuff he says, like, "I would have beat Pereira, had the ref not intervene and whatnot." He
sure.
even told Jiri like going into this fight was, "Yeah, I got knocked out, but you got your ass beat." So this isn't this isn't the
Look what
same thing.
happened
It's like, what are you talking about, brother? What are we doing here? Get out of here. What are we doing here? So I think I mean not Pereira, I think Hill does have some marketing
ability.
behind him. I don't want to say marketing, but does have the ability to sell fights because people want to see him get knocked out, right? They want to see him lose because they don't like him.
Can I tell you that he was the only fight that people chanted instead of the crowd getting behind and
Mhm.
USA, Jerry, Jerry. I'm like, bro, and this is cool, like great for him, but like,
Yeah.
there's a reason.
If I'm the UFC, I'm gonna give honestly, I want to see the Khalil Roundtree fight with Hill. I mean, yeah, because I think that's a good fight to make. But if I'm the UFC, I give Hill somebody that he can beat, that he can knock out, so he can start gaining more traction, saying crazy shit, and build up to another fight just for him to lose again. That's what I would. That's the route I would go. But I do think the Khalil Roundtree fight is good. I think that's the next fight to make.
Former champions, baby. Let's
Yeah.
go.
We'll move on here though to our co-main event. Marab Duvalishvili defends and retains his bantamweight title up against Umar Nurmagomedov, who was undefeated at 18-0 going into this fight. He was the favorite at a minus 278, whereas Duvalishvili was the underdog at a plus 233. Now, if you look at this fight, Nurmagomedov looked amazing in the first round. He had Marab fighting backwards. He outstruck him in that round. He defended takedowns. And the second round was a lot of the same thing. He appeared more aggressive, pressing forward, but Nurmagomedov did good, fighting backwards, defending takedowns. You can argue that did him breaking his hand affect the outcome of the fight? Was it him breaking his hand? Was it him not having the cardio? Or was it Marab Duvalishvili's relentless pressure that won him the fight? Because when we got into that championship rounds, the third, fourth, fifth round, Marab just looked levels ahead when it came to the cardio, when it came to the pressure, when it came to the pace. That's where he kind of really level changed and really showed why he is the champion. But the question's still there that Umar broke his hand in the first round, he claims. So what did you think of this fight? Are you surprised? Are you Not surprised? Were you expecting a different outcome? Do you think the hand being broken affected the fight in the later rounds, or no? This is how the fight was gonna go.
Listen, as a fan, I had to stay for the post fight presser, and my man Marab comes out. Bro didn't even shower. Bro went blood. They just got a little check with the blood.
Yeah.
Went with the fighter shorts with the glove. I thought he was gonna fight the media. Let me say this: a media member asked Marab, what do you think about Ali saying that Umar broke his hand in the first round? Bro, Marab says, I break my back in training camp, and I'm just like
My
thinking
leg,
about
my leg was hurt. My leg was infected or something like
my
that.
leg was like I break my back, I break my tibia. What
I
is
didn't
this?
train. I didn't train at all. He said, "Get out of here, man."
What's the thing? What's the word you like? Uh, I show you Umar now real man. What
Oh,
was it?
you have to be man first.
Bro, he should make a shirt off that because this is what it described. The excuses, brother. Listen, you broke your hand because of Marab. Like I don't. This was in I gotta say, um, when I saw this third round happening,
Yeah.
I immediately knew that I needed to put money on Marab.
Hmm.
And then we go to the fourth, and the odds are not letting me. By the way,
Yeah.
this is what I was saying before. Similar to Barcelos, like I was not able to put money onto these fights. That's fine. That happens in live because the odds are shifting so quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, dissecting this one, first round, Nurmagomedov looked amazing. But why? Everybody looks good against um, Merab in the first round. Why is it, champ? Because their conditioning is holding up. You look at the odds; they get a little worse because he was clean. My takeaways for Nurmagomedov winning is that he was going to control the pace, right? And by that, it was stiff jab, stiff, but apparently he didn't have his jab. So you needed to use other kind of equipment, another
Mhm.
weapons. Going to the second, he still looked good. Thing is, when fighters have that level of break,
Yeah.
it's like once it cools down a bit, you could still throw it because you're still dealing with adrenaline,
Hmm.
right? And he was still jabbing, he was still using it, but something happened in the third. He started getting tired. So Marab was also not pushing the pace in the first and second.
No, not
It
at
was
all.
in the third. Once I saw the third, he switched it up. Man, he started showboating. He started going crazy. Um, and he was active with Nurmagomedov staying active, but visibly frustrated as Diwali outpaced him. And that's when I knew it was the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
Um, fourth round came in, and I'm like, well, he doesn't look as tired. But then Marab just up your pace, and and I'm just the human. And going 2-2 to the last round, I absolutely hate Champ that, and I'll say it after the fifth round. I hate the showboating because it was
I don't like it
closer.
either.
It was closer than expected. That fifth round was close. I think the reason why Marab won is because the last 2 minutes he completely dominated.
Yeah.
Like he completely outstruck him. It was the most significant strike he had out of all the rounds. And the thing I not that I despise, but as somebody that's very aware of bias and people, you had people cheering for Umar. And those people, he won 3-2. When I make bets and similar to you gotta give it to the man. You gotta give it to the man. Like you gotta
Yeah.
show love. You gotta say, hey, he did
Exactly.
good. He did good.
And
He
it
did great.
And then you and I, when we watch fights prior to it ending, we already know who won, right? So like if I had a bet on Umar Nurmagomedov for that fifth round, and then seeing Dvalishvili's domination, I knew that he lost the fight, right? It was GG's there. Like, I was like, okay, cool. We'll move
GG's.
on to the next one. A lot of people like to live in denial. They don't know how to score these fights. They don't know what they're watching and how the judges point these fights, right? And I think the determining factor in this fight was the pace, and I think you said it well in a tweet here when we put it out, was his pace and his relentless pressure was what won him the fight, right? Like going into that third round, he completely switched up the level and he went after it. And this doesn't take anything away from Umar. I think this is going to be his greatest lesson learned. I think that he needs to improve on his cardio for one, right? I think that's one thing he's gonna improve on his cardio, and I think they should run it back. I mean, he's gonna harp on the fact that he broke his hand, right? That affected the outcome of the fight. I think that's what he's gonna say going forward. But I think you make this fight again, or do you give Merab Dvalishvili Sean O'Malley again? You think they're gonna give Sean O'Malley the opportunity to fight Dvalishvili again, and then
No,
Umar fights against Peter Yan? I think this is the fight you make. You do a rematch. Because this
no,
was such a competitive fight. This was such a good tactical fight. I
it
mean, this was
was.
a really entertaining fight, man. I was fucking at the edge of my seat the whole fucking fight.
It was. It was very good. So I think, and like again, like going back to the bias stuff, man,
Hmm.
people really need to understand what scoring is and look at a fight and look at the
Hmm.
behavior of the fight
Yeah,
because he was showboating because Umar was a completely outpaced. That wasn't a
yeah,
hand issue. That was not a
yeah,
hand issue. There's somebody has hurt his hand fighting.
yeah.
I would say this. Um, Shout out to Marab, completely dominated. Marab's just crazy. I think this one needs to happen next.
It needs to
Make
happen again, right?
well, no. Well, here's what you do.
You do
He's
it in Russia, baby. Let's go. No, I'm just kidding.
That's crazy. Well, maybe that's the fight to make. Maybe make it in
Hmm.
whatever it is. But let me outline what I think is going to be Marab's next journey.
Uh-huh.
You don't give him O'Malley yet. You give him Peter Yan. Peter Yan
Okay.
is ready to fight. I think I have to check, but I think they gave him like 6, 7 months for
Yeah.
O'Malley, right? And then he needs to start working on the training because I don't
Hmm.
think none of those guys beat him. I would want to see Peter Yan, then give him O'Malley. Now, what do you do with Umar? Umar is not going to face O'Malley. Like I think they'll never make that fight.
No, they don't. They wanna retain O'Malley's star power a lot because I think he loses obviously to Umar.
It's
It's level.
clean. He's
Yeah.
clean. But it showed us that. So, oh man, like somebody was saying, like compare the scorecards to O'Malley to Umar, and I said it's close. No, Umar was the close fight.
Hmm.
Umar was the most prepared. It was just an outpacing issue, and I don't think nobody can deal with that because, as I said in the pre, Henry was winning the first round. Peter Young was winning the first round. Jose Aldo was winning the first round. But what
Hmm.
happened? It's just the weaponized pace and
Cardio, the weaponized cardio, like you like to say.
and does Umar like that's something that I mean from a heart rate perspective, like I mean Coach Habib that's been his only loss in a while.
Yeah.
So I'm just shocked and like you said, I think it was fight of the year candidate. It was such a high level,
Hmm.
and I just didn't like how Marab is such a dirty fighter. When I say dirty, he just lunges. He'll just like throw some shit, and then you have a very technical fighter. And I think if Umar uses his fights and yeah, let's see. I'm not gonna suppose because we're not gonna get Umar versus Marab next. We're definitely not.
Umar versus Marab next.
Sorry, Umar versus Morab 2 is not happening.
Oh,
Because I
not
think,
happening. So yeah, I think you give Marab. I like the idea of giving Marab Peter Yan and then letting Umar recover. And then do you give Umar another fight and then get him
yeah,
going back
give
in
him another
contention?
fight. Showcase his dominance, and then he's next up in line. And then you have O'Malley waiting in the wings, and
Hmm.
maybe he takes those two and then fights Umar again.
Yeah, we'll see.
Take
We'll see what
Georgia.
happens. I don't think this takes anything away from Umar. This was an exciting fight. The thing that concerned me was I think it was going into the end of the third round or going into the fourth was when Umar started breathing with his mouth open. He came out and you could see he was visibly tired, and I was like, oh no, it's gonna be long, bruv. That's my first long bruv of the year. It's gonna be long, bruv. That's what I said when I saw that coming out. But yeah, great fight. Merab Dvalishvili retains his bantamweight title, and we'll see what happens in the division. We'll see what fight is next, but very exciting. We'll move on here to our next fight: Islam Makhachev defeating Renato Moicano via Darce choke in the first round. I am not surprised of this. Islam Makhachev was supposed to fight Armin Sarukian. Armin Sarukian pulled out on Friday on the day of the weigh-ins due to a back injury. Un, um, Unsure. It hasn't been stated how he hurt his injury. I think he said he hurt it cutting weight. What are you doing? You know, what are you doing hurting your back cutting weight? Who knows what exercises he was doing? But uh, Moicano stepped in. He was already training for a bout at lightweight. He made weight to fight Makhachev to make this a title shot. And what did you think of this fight? I mean, I honestly, it went how I predicted it to go. I thought Islam was going to get a finish here, how he was going to get the finish. You know, we've seen Moicano get dropped before. Was he going to hit him with a leg kick? Was he going to hit him with a overhand right and drop him and then knock him out? Or was he going to sub him, right? I knew that the finish was going to be there. Some of these cats on X are wild. They chase these dog money, right? They tell you like, oh yeah, bet Moicano for submission at a plus 6,000. Like, what are we doing, guys? Come on, look at the fight for what it is. Islam was going to win this fight, and it is what it is. What did you think, man?
Uh, I mean, the only thing that I could highlight that's a kind of win is apparently like it was Moicano dropped rocks Islam. This one got right back up, but apparently it was a slip.
Yeah, I think when that happened, the crowd erupted. Everybody was excited, but they confirmed via replay that he did slip. He hit him on the armpit. He didn't hit him in the chin. He hit him in the armpit and he slipped backwards. So it wasn't officially a knockdown, but in real time, it looked like he knocked him down.
Yeah, and that's why he quickly recover, secure, and
Mm.
after that slip, he's like, you know what? I don't need to play. I don't need. I
I'm
don't need to
done
play.
playing, right?
I know what I'm good at.
Yeah.
Fuck. He said, "Fuck the fans. I'm grappling this dude," and he just took him down, put pressure. He's very good in this position. Like when he kind of gets that half guard, he kind of it's like Habib. Like these guys don't get up, and Moicano is not. Um, what do you call it? Umar, right? Like, and I say Umar because like it was a different fight that we saw, and yeah, I mean, look, shout out to Moicano. He saved the fight, and he said something. He's like, I don't know if I'm going to get another title shot, and this is true because he's leap and bounds different than
Yeah, and,
like he
and
has.
this doesn't take anything away from Renato, right? Like I think he wanted money, right? He's money Morcano, right? He wanted money fights. He has a newborn. He wants to make a comfortable life for his family. So he got championship money, right? He got the show up money. So he made good money this fight. I don't think he didn't have anything to lose, right? He could always jump on the back like, oh, I wasn't training for a championship fight. So he took this fight on short notice. Doesn't take anything away from him. I think he's still gonna be Money Moicano, right? And in his next fight, I don't know who he's gonna fight, but we'll see who they give him. I don't know what this does to for the
Benil,
rankings. I don't know what this does for
fight
him.
Benil, fight Benil.
Benil said that he wants to fight Poirier. I think is it Poirier he called out? I think he wants to fight Poirier.
Nah, just fight Moicano. Just
Yeah,
like just
do that one,
remake
right?
this fight. He barely got damaged. He just got choked out. Make
Yeah,
this fight in a couple months. I mean, we knew what was going to happen. I saw
yeah.
the odds, so the odds exploded to a plus 2,000, and I threw $5 on Moicano. I'm like, let me see the Hail Mary.
Oh boy,
Five, bro,
Legion.
$5 to make $100. Like,
So, so,
it,
so
it is
what? So what's next for Islam Makhachev, right? I think he's gonna have to face Charles Oliveira again. Dana had said it in the post-fight presser that Arman Tsarukyan is not gonna get the title shot. He's not gonna get a guaranteed title shot. He doesn't want anybody to fighting when they're hurt. Anybody to fight when they're hurt. So Charles Oliveira is most likely next to fight Makachev for the lightweight title. And then Makachev also states how he wants to move up before he's retired and he hangs up his gloves, right? He wants to be a double champ. I think a
rules.
lot of it, I think a lot of that decision goes into who's champion when he decides to move up. Is he gonna go to welterweight or middleweight, right? I mean, who's gonna be the champion in that division? Because he said he would be interested in a fight against DDP if he's champion. But do you think he'd want to fight Hamzat at middleweight? He's the champion.
Well, you know, it's similar to George St. Pierre. Like
Yeah,
when GSP took on Michael Bisping,
yeah,
he never intended to go to middleweight, but it's just
mhm,
you look at who's the champion and you see,
exactly.
well, this is the guy that I would have the best odds with, and I think that's what happened with GSP, and I think Islam really needs to. I'm sorry, but like, so we have Oliveira next. Let's see, we have Oliveira.
And then you
I,
have Taporia calling him out.
I don't want to
I'm
see
sorry.
Oliveira. I don't want to see that fight. I really don't.
I think Oliveira loses, but people, people want to see that fight. They like
Oh,
Oliveira.
he's a draw now.
He's a
Oliveira's a
fan
draw.
favorite. Yeah, he's a fan favorite.
I just don't understand why Oliveira is he's a troll. He was in the sauna, bro. What are you doing putting videos of the sauna right
Yeah,
after? It's just funny. Um, yeah. I mean, Arman's fucked, and the reason why he's fucked is because he kind of lied. He put the UFC in jeopardy, man, and that's the thing about it. All main events now need to have some level of ranked fighters for that division. So if, let's say, for example, Pereira's fighting um, the Russian dude Magomedov,
Ankalev. Yeah,
there needs to be a um, a fight in there that there's like top 10 ranked fighters from light heavyweight. And because man, we this fight was almost in jeopardy. Like
this
Islam
card.
didn't.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think they would have continued with Marab, but you basically got to see the skill set. So what do you do? I mean, look, if the fans want to give them Oliveira, I don't know how that's going to go. That doesn't really show me anything. Um, and then just who's next? Give them. I'm trying to see who do you give him next. Arman's going to have to make his way back.
uh,
Arman is not the draw that people think he is. And that's why Dana
well,
said, you know what, I'm going to sit you down because you put this thing in jeopardy. You're gonna fight with the fucked up back, and it seized up, and like you should have let us know. And the Performers Institute, and
yeah.
it's just not a draw, champ. So yeah, just give them Oliveira. Then who do you have coming up? Maybe the winner of man. Do you want to do Gaethje? Like there's Gate.
Well, he also said that he wants to fight Holloway. Like they did the UFC did like you get three fighters, who's one you want to fight, one you want to train with, and one you want to eat with. And the one he wanted to fight was Max Holloway, and he is in lightweight now, so that could be a potential money fight.
Yeah, I mean it's a good fight. So maybe you know what? I think that's the next fight. Skip Oliveira. Um,
No, Oliveira's gonna get the fight.
but why? We already know. Like that happened like a year. Like when did
Mhm.
that happen? Actually,
That happened 3 fights ago for him.
2023. 2023.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I mean, I think that's the more entertaining fight.
2022 it happened 3 years ago.
Really, it's been three
Hmm.
years. Hasn't felt like that, but yeah, I mean, it makes sense. He's fought it's just the fights with Volkanovski and all these other
Yeah.
stuff. I would like to see Holloway just because it'd be refreshing for
Yeah.
Islam. But then yeah, Oliveira, Arman would have to fight one. If Arman does a spectacular fight and like knockout or submission, I think they bump him up
Hmm.
in fights. So maybe those three fights, but that's three fights. And then is Bilal still going to be champion? That's four fights for Islam if he goes up, and then he wants to pace DDP. Maybe he's out by then.
We'll
So
see. The Ilya Taporia fight is still out there as well. Ilya Taporia tweeted out that this is what happens when Georgian wrestling meets Dagestani wrestling. So you think my man Islam's gonna let that slide? Who knows? It's a
there's
potential
beef.
super fight they could make. What's up?
There's been beef with those boys, but
Yeah, of
I'll say
course.
this: like, Ilya is special, but so was Conor McGregor. Like
Hmm.
certain fighters at their respective weight division, they're special, and
Hmm.
you'll never beat them. But once you go up, man, that 155 is it's just different.
That's a big jump too. 145 to 155. You're fighting somebody who's coming in on fight night at 170, almost 180. So big boys, man.
And
Big boys.
and I said that on Twitter. Like maybe Toporia's next. Maybe have a little bit of fun, and then somebody's like, "Oh, that'd be the second time a featherweight champion." But who's next? Diego. Diego's fighting Yair.
That's a banger fight, man. Yeah, you're in Mexico. Whew. I haven't seen I was looking at tickets for that because you might want to go down to Mexico. Have a little DJ and play in Mexico, man. That's gonna be a good card. It's gonna be a fun fight.
It is a fun fight and it's spectacular. And like, yeah, I'd say give Renato Benio Dariush. Let's see how he does. Islam gets to fight. Man, Oliveira. He's just situated in the right place. I just have to say, he's just at the right place at the right time. Um, yeah, let's get things rolling. I was just say that, but shout out
Yeah.
to Islam, broke the lightweight record, which should make him the best lightweight of all time. They
Yep.
still give it to Habib, but
And then you have Marab breaking GSP's record. So
Yeah, for
two records are broken. Hmm.
most active wins.
And some things to say that some things to announce that UFC 313, the main event is going to be Alex Pereira up against Ankalaev, and the co-main is going to be Justin Gaethje up against Dan Hooker. That's going to be a banger of a fight. It's going to be a great fight actually for a co-main and main event. I want to see how they build that card. It's going to be in Las Vegas in March, UFC 313. We will be back next week talking about, not next week, in 2 weeks, right? I think we're
Yeah.
gonna take a week off. Yeah, in 2 weeks we're gonna have UFC Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia. Oof, can't even talk. UFC Saudi Arabia. We're gonna have Adesanya up against Imavov and uh, Shara Bullet up against Michael Venom Page. So make sure you guys tap into that. We will record our full breakdown video and give you our bets and picks as the fight gets closer. My boy, what are you doing? What's this image right here? What are you showing me?
I'm just leaving with a banger, bro. I just
He's leaving with it. But look, shit. Listen, guys, make sure you hit the like, make sure you hit the subscribe. Please support us. Please, help with the algorithm. We don't charge you anything. We're just giving you our opinions and our picks, but we've been consistent in doing it, and we always show full transparency in our picks. Sometimes we have banger cards where we knock out 13 of 13, right? On our picks. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we're off a couple, but we always want to be transparent and show you how we're doing in our picks and in our bets. So make sure you tap in, follow us on X at Combat Sport, guys. We do give those immediate fight analysis round by round with the live odds, and people seem to like that. On our pinned tweet, can you go to the profile? On our pinned tweet, we have the article pinned where you can see every fight. You see our picks, our bets, and then every fight for UFC 311. If you want to refresh, if you want to recap, make sure you tap in, make sure you show some love. Yeah, follow us on X, follow us on YouTube, hit a comment, hit a like, hit a subscribe. We're not going anywhere. We're going to be consistent with this always. Any parting words, my man?
Nah, man, always a pleasure doing these fights. Always good to kind of sit down and just do the breakdowns of these fights and get better. I think one of the things that I want, like after this card, I realized that I would want to have a little bit more time. So with AI developing, I don't know. I'll talk to you over the air, but like I think it's extremely important for us to know um, all these different camps that these fighters are fighting. Like, because I think it was phenomenal to see Marab versus
Mm,
Umar. Is that there were two different kind of camps in a way: the Habib and Javier
yeah.
Mendez, the Dagestani and the ATT. American Kickboxers. Oh my god, I forgot the name.
Mm,
AKC, American Kickboxing. Oh my god, I forgot. But then you have the Marab side, and you have Team Longo, and then you have Team Wood, which is two powerhouses. And
mm,
I think if there's something that we could take off this fight, personally for me, I need to get better at not only analyzing fighters, but also analyzing where they're coming from. Like I think that's extremely crucial for me. And I don't know. I'm gonna work on it. I just thought I kind of share that. But I think I would say this, and I wanted to kind of do this going forward. Best tweet with the most engagement. I gotta say, people
yeah.
love it. Marab,
71K. Wow.
Marab is a star.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. It's 71K, right? Damn. Wow. That's a lot of impressions.
Yeah. I mean, the closest had to be Alex Pereira
Mm-hmm.
or Max Holloway versus Taporia, but the fact that I felt that this was a bigger fight
Mm-hmm.
than Islam.
Well, because the Islam fight would have been bigger if he was fighting the opponent he was supposed to fight, right? I think the Renato Moicano, obviously, a lot of people predicted that it was going to go that route, and it did go that route, but it is what it is. There we have it, guys. Make sure you tap in on X. Make sure you follow us. Hit the notification button there. We are going to be consistent, as I mentioned, guys. Make sure you love what you love. You do what you do. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.